Dear students, welcome to my class Industrial Management and Safety. The last class we were discussed about the development of management theory. A story of management which is essentially the story of mankind, isn't it? The Egyptian pyramid and the Great Wall of China are current evidence of that project of tremendous scope, employing tens of thousands of people, were undertaken well before modern times. Without proper planning, organizing, and controlling, such project would not have been completed satisfactorily. Around in 1750, England entered the individual or the industrial revolutions, which brought about the remarkable changes by substituting the machine power for human power. Continuous innovations in the field of service and technology lead to the emergence of modern industry, which want the need for scientific management. The early management pioneers such as Robert Owen, Charles Babbage, Metcalfe, Watt, Bolton and Henry Town were provided solid metal for constructing the sophisticated and elegant building of management. The real beginning of science of management did not occur until the last decades of 19th century. A group of persons such as F.W. Taylor, Henry Foyle, H.C. Gant, Emerson, Gilbert, Carl Barth and others contributed toward the process of development of the science of management. Now, Taylor's scientific management. The scientific management refers the application of scientific method to the management practices. That consists of observing and analyzing each task, determination of standard of work, selecting and training men to perform their job, ensuring that work is done in the most efficient manner. He is also known as father of scientific management. Now, very important portion, we will discuss that the contributions of F.W. Taylor. That are he developed the principles of breaking a task into elements for timing the same, conducted time study to recognize the losses of efficiency. He defined a fair day's task and undertook studies on fatigue incurred by the worker and the time necessary to complete a task. He evolved the principles of investigative work on scientific basis, selecting the best worker for a task and training him to acquire desired skill, developing cooperative spirit between management and workers. He developed the functional organization in which each specialist for or foreman was made in the charge for each function. He establishes work standard through time study, introduced a wage incentive scheme as Taylor's differential piece rate system. He introduced and operated various costing system. So these all are the 8 numbers of contributions of F.W. Taylor. From the beginning, the first one is that he used a principle which breaking a task into element for a timing the same. Next, he conducted time study to recognize losses of efficiency in the industrial operation. He defined a fair day task and undertook studies on fatigue incurred by the worker, isn't it? The fourth one, he evolved the principles of investigative work on scientific basis, selecting the best worker for a task and training him to acquire desired skill, developing cooperative spirit between management and works. He developed the functional organization in which each specialist or foreman was made in charge for each function. He establishes work standard through the time study. He introduced a wage incentive scheme known as Taylor's differential piece rate system. He introduced and operated various costing system also. He introduced the operated various costing systems. Now, another legend known as Henry Fayol. He is also known as father of principles of management. He suggested the functions of management are the technical, which consists of production and manufacturing. Next is commercial, which consists of buying, selling and exchange. And next is financial, isn't it? Okay. Financial consists of acquiring and using capital. And next is security. That consists of protection of property and persons. And next is accounting. That consists of stock taking, balance sheet, cost and statistics. Finally, the managerial function, which consists of planning, organizing, command, coordination and control. Okay, right. Fayol believed that if any of the above 6 functions had to be neglected, the business cannot operate successfully, isn't it? Fayol developed a 14 general principles of management that apply to all the types of human organization. Okay. Fayol wrote these 14 principles on the basis of his practical experience because he was a manager. According to him, these principles can be applied in all types, functions, levels and size of organization. This has earned him the title of universalist. For a long time, Fayol list was accepted as complete and comprehensive. A description of these principles as follows. Now, we are going to discuss about 14 principles of management. First one is division of work. Second is authority and responsibility. Third one, discipline. Fourth, unity of command. Fifth, unity of direction. Fifth, subordination of individuals' interest to general interest. And remuneration of personnel, centralization, scalar chain, order, equity, stability of worker, initiative, finally, esprit de corps. So, these all are the 14 principles of management by the Fayol. Now, you can, here you have a easy method to remember this 14 number of principles of management by using this shortcut DAD-UC-USSR, that is division of work up to remuneration. DAD, you can see USSR, and remaining you should remember order, initiative, stability of worker, equity and esprit de corps, or you can create your own word. Now, we discuss the division of work. First one, breaking work into small elements allocated to a number of persons leads to specialization and increase in the efficiency. Individual acquires speed and accuracy by repeating small part of work, can be applied to technical and managerial duties. Now, the second one, authority and responsibility. Authority refers to the right of the superior to give order to subordinates, to take decision, to use resources, to guide and regulate the behavior of the subordinates. Responsibility, obligation with respect to the performance. The third function, now few more points about authority and responsibility continues. Authority means power to take decision. Responsibility means obligation to complete the assigned job on time. Authority comes from official and personal factors. Official authority comes from manager's position. Personal authority comes from qualities like intelligence, experience, moral worth, and past services. Now, the third one is discipline. Discipline is obedience, application, energy, behavior, and respect shown by employees. It is of two types. Self-imposed discipline comes from within the individual. Command discipline comes from some authority expressed through rules, regulations, and customs. All the personnel serving in organization should be disciplined. Now, unity of command. It means that a person should get orders, instructions from only one superior. An individual cannot serve two bosses at the same time. This leads to confusion, misunderstanding, and conflicts. Each group of activities with the same objective must have one head and one plan. Unity of command take about the reporting relationship of the personnel at all level. Unity of direction talk about functioning of organization in terms of grouping of activities. Now, the subordination of individual interest to the general interest. Interest of the organization should take priority over individual interest. Individual and organizational interests are different, then managers must try to reconcile them. If not, then individual interest should be sacrificed. Now, next is remuneration of personnel. Remuneration of employees should be fair, reasonable, and satisfactory. It should provide maximum satisfaction to employees and employer. Dissatisfaction will lead to increase in employee turnover. So these all are main. Now next that is I want to complete it. Remuneration personnel. The eighth one is centralization. Centralization is start to exit if top management retain most of the decision making authority. It is less if such authority is shared with the managers at lower level of management. Sharing authority downward lead to decentralization. Foyle says that an organization should strive to achieve a balance between complete centralization and decentralization. A small organization, centralization is possible and effective, but generally in big organizations where diversified activities, the degree of centralization should be less. Next is scalar chain. It is a chain of superiors and subordinates from the highest level to the lowest level for the purpose of communication. It indicates that the issue of authority, that is, who is superior to whom. It suggests that each communication going up or coming down should be along line or authority. Scalar chain regarded as a chain of command because order or instruction issued at a higher level flow through the intermediate managers. Now next is order. Order relates the arrangement of things and people. Everything should be in its place and there should be a place for everything. Every man in the organization should be properly placed. Right man in the right place. Order demand precise knowledge of human requirement and resources of the organization and a constant vigil. The bigger the size of organization, the more difficult is this balance of knowledge and resources. Now equity. What is equity? To attain loyalty and devotion from the personnel, manager should be just and kind. Equity is the combination of kindness and just. It requires much good sense, experience, and good nature. Stability of workers. No employees should be removed unnecessarily within a short period. Stability of tenure is necessary to get an employee accustomed to doing a new work and to enable him in performing it well. Next is initiative. Managers should encourage their employees to take initiative within the limit of their authority and discipline. Initiative concerned with thinking out and execution of a plan. It gives satisfaction for an intelligent man to experience. Esprit de corps. This refers to the principles of unity of command. It is a principle that union is strength. The manager should develop team spirit in his employees. The spirit is of great importance to accomplish tasks. The above principles of management are notified that which are not final. They are flexible and subject to the adaptation to every need. Now we are going to compare the two legenders, similarities and dissimilarities. See, both them realize the universality of management. See, both of them are known as the legends of management. Universality of management means legends of management. And next is scientific method. Both applied scientific method to the problem of management. Now, importance of personnel. Both realize the importance of personnel and its management at all levels. Improvement of practice. Both wanted to improve the management practice. Idea through the experience. Both of them developed their ideas through practical experience. Now books. Both of them expressed their ideas through their books. Now finally the similarity of both, mutual cooperation. Both of them emphasized mutual cooperation between employers and employees. Now come to the dissimilarity of Taylor and Fayol. Shop floor versus manager. Here, see, Taylor was an engineer, whereas Fayol was a manager. So the first, Taylor focused the attention on the problem of shop floor or ground floor, while Fayol concentrated on the functions of the managers at a top level. Now bottom versus top. Taylor worked from bottom of the industrial hierarchy upward, while Fayol concentrated on the chief executive and worked downwards, productivity and theory. The main aim of Taylor was to improve the productivity of the labor and eliminate the wastage. Fayol attempted to develop a universal authority of management. Now come to an important topic, that is functions of management. There are 6 functions of management, which are planning, organizing, staffing, directing, controlling and decision making. Now you can see there is a tree for classification of the functions of management. You can see from the slide, planning, organizing, staffing, directing, controlling and decision making. Each and every functions having lot of sub topics or sub functions. Planning, what, how much, when, where, who. So planning, and the factors under the organizing is divide work, decide people, define responsibility, delegate authority, design structure. Staffing, manpower, planning, recruitment, selecting, training, promotion, etc. Then directing, instruction, guide, supervise, find variations, corrective action. Controlling, get standard, ensure actual performance, compare actual and standard, integrate, motivate. Decision making, investigate situations, define problem, prioritize, identify objectives, diagnose the causes, develop the alternatives, evaluate and select, finally implement. Now, what is planning? Planning is thinking before doing. Determine the objective of the firm, choosing an effective course of an action from among various alternatives. And in the planning, what is to be produced, how much is to be produced, how to be produced, when to be produced, who are to produce it, where is the market. Now coming to the steps in the planning: gathering information, laying down objectives, developing planning premises, examining alternative course of action, evaluation of action pattern, reviewing limitations, and finally implementation of plan. Now come to the organization. After objectives and plans have been established, management must then organize human and physical resources of the firm. The organizing include the provision of physical facilities, capital and personnel. That means material, men and machinery. The organizing involved dividing the work into component activity, assigning people to task, define responsibility, delegate authority, establish structural relationship. Now come to the steps in organizing: identify the work, classify the work, assigning work to the individual, delegate authority and responsibility, coordinate the activities. Now the next function is staffing. In large organization, this is done by separate department called personnel department. Staffing is the process of selecting, training, promoting and retire of the workforce. Staffing involves the developing and placing of qualified people in the various jobs. That means right people, right place and right time in the organization. Now the steps in staffing: manpower planning, recruitment, selection and training, placement of manpower, development, promotion, transfer and appraisal, determination of remuneration. Now come to the next functions of management, which is directing. It means the process by which the plan are guided and performed into operation. Directing involves motivating, guiding and supervising subordinates towards the company objective. During directing, thus involving the following elements: element of directions or directing: giving instruction to the subordinates, guiding the subordinate to do work, supervising the subordinates to make certain that work done by them is as per the plans established, integrate the activity of the workers, motivate the workers to meet the target. So these all are the steps or the main functions of directing. Now come to the controlling. What is controlling? Concept of controlling. The function of control is The function of control is to match actual performance with the plan and to point out defective work to rectify them and prevent recurrences. That means controlling means comparison between plan and actual achievement, and also it point out defective work to rectify them and prevent reoccurrence. Controlling process set standard to measure the performance and task and take a corrective action if required. The various forms of controlling are quality control, cost control, various forms of controlling which are quality control, cost control, inventory control, production control, and finally personnel control. Steps in controlling. The process of controlling involves the following steps: establishing standards of performance, ensuring actual performance, comparing these to finding variance or deviation, taking corrective action. Now come to the decision making. The main situation under compelled to take decision are alternatives, uncertainty, high risk consequences, interpersonal issues, complexity. Decision making means choose a course of action from various alternatives. Decision making is a process which a course of action is consciously chosen from available alternatives from the purpose of achieving desired result. It is the most important job of management, and we can say that good decision making ability is key to the successful career in management. Decision making is an absolute necessary component of the management process. For example, a manager has to decide what are the long-term objectives of the organization, how to achieve the objectives, what strategies, policies, procedures to be adopted, how the job should be structured, what type of structure, how to match job with individual. How to motivate people to peak performance, how to integrate effort and resolve the conflict, what activities should be controlled, how to control them. The decision making is a central and important part of the process of managing. Here it is the steps involving decision making. Investigate the situation, define the problem, prioritize the problem, identify decision objectives, develop alternatives, evaluate and select the best one, implement and monitor the progress. Now, the next important topic is types of ownership. Ownership of a business is represented by the right of an individual or group of individuals to acquire legal title to assets and to enjoy the gain or profits from such possessions and controlling them. This right to acquire, enjoy and dispose property of business vests in the private individual or group of people or government sector or private sector bodies. The important form of ownerships as follows. Type of ownership: individual or solo proprietorship, partnership organization, joint stock company divided into two, private limited company and public limited company, finally cooperative society. So type of ownerships. 4 type of ownerships. Now first one, individual or sole proprietorship. The type of business is owned by a single man. The owner invests capital, employs labor and machines. Hence, he enjoys all the benefit. The owner has the right to determine plans and policies of operation. The owner is fully liable for all the debts associated with the business. Now the advantages and disadvantages, main advantages and disadvantages of sole proprietorship or individual ownership. Easy to formation as it does not acquire to complete any legal formality. Owner is free to make any decision. Simplicity in the organization and expenses in starting are minimum. The owner can meet the customer's taste directly. Secrecy can be maintained, material, process, method, etc. It is more flexible and product variety can be changed. The effort and reward are directly related. Minimum legal restrictions. Since the supervisor is the proprietor himself, the overhead expenses are very less and product can be obtained cheaply. Now come to the disadvantage of the sole proprietorship. The owner cannot be master of all technique like management, sales, engineering, process, etc. Hence work suffers. If the business fails, creditors can take the personal property as well as business property of the owner to settle their claim. So the involve unlimited liability for debt and losses. The capital is limited. Therefore, modern firms, these sophisticated machines cannot run with this type of organization. The firm may stop with the death of a proprietor. Application. This type of ownership is okay. This type of ownership is suitable in the following cases. When the business can be taken care by one single person in all functions of management. Enterprises requiring small capital for business which don't involve high risk or failure. Example for sole proprietorship which are starting a printing press, auto repair shop, small fabrication, engineering industry, wood working shop, furniture shop, etc. Now come to the partnership organization, business partnership. Some of the disadvantage of the single ownership organization can be eliminated by a well organized partnership organization. Partnership is the relationship between the persons who have agreed to share profit of business carried on by all or any one of them acting for all. In short, partnership organization is an association of two or more persons to carry on as co-owner of a business for profit, up to 20 persons in case of non-banking business and up to 10 persons in case of banking business. The partnership depend on mutual confidence, adjustment and cooperation between the partner. Now, every partner is liable for the act of other partners. To avoid any complication at later stage, the constitution of the company may be written in an agreement form. This agreement is known as partnership deed. The partnership deed contain following informations. The partnership deed contain the following information: name of the firm, name of the business, date of starting business, money contributed by each partner, allotment of management functioning among partners, salary if any, allowed to manage partners, rate of interest on capital invested if any, the basis for the introduction of any new partners. Kind of partners. See, there are 6 kind of partners. First one is active partner. That means these partners take active part in the management or in the industry or in the company. Now the second is sleeping partners. No active part but invest their money. Third is nominal partner. Lend their reputed name for the company's product and services. No invest money. They lend only their reputed name for the company. And fourth one is secret partner. Take part into the management secretly. Now minor partner who has not attained the age of 18 years. Finally, finally the general partner. All the partners in the organization is known as general partners. Now come to the advantage of partnership organization. Large capital can be collected than that of the sole proprietorship. Possess much better talent, skill from different partners. There is a definite legal status. Can borrow money easily from various financial institutions. Incentive for success is high. Partnership associates tax advantages with it, not subject to the strict government supervision. For all losses, there are more than one person to share. Not disadvantage of partnership organization. Mistakes of one partner big loss to all the partners. Due to the unlimited liability, risk involved is more. Chances of misunderstanding among partners which affect on the efficiency and expansion of business. It is unsuitable for modern industries because they require huge capital. Partnership comes to the an end if partner is die. Investors and lenders hesitate to provide money because of lack of stability of a partnership firm. Application of partnership organization. Medium engineering firms, law firms, cinema theaters, educational institutions, medical clinics, retail, trade, etc. Retail traders, etc. Isn't it? Right now, I am wind up my class, and thank you very much.